Welcome everybody. Good morning to our session today, our Career Hub webinar, where we get to learn how to kickstart the career engine. And today we have amazing speakers, amazing guests who are going to be sharing with us their experiences, their journeys, the last couple of years in their lives in what they usually do. We have guests from Uganda, guests from Nigeria, guests from Kenya as well, and I'm very excited to just get to learn how we can, or how you can also kickstart your career engine in a quest for career growth. My name is Shebanjage, and I'm looking forward to today's session. I'm looking forward to listening to you as you ask your questions, also listening to our speakers as they share their great insights with us. I'd like to give a warm welcome to everybody who has joined us on the Zoom platform. Karibuni sana, and good job for registering early and just being in the space where we get to directly ask the questions. Also, a warm welcome to all our guests who have joined us from YouTube and also on Facebook and across all social media, in case you will be seeing this even later, if not live. It's such a warm day for some of us and a cold day for others, but I know in this particular session, I hope it's going to be a warm one for each of us as we get to learn. And just to quickly share with you the agenda for the day today, we'll be having 4 speakers. We have our first speaker who will be Glory Edozian, and then we'll have a speaker from AMREF Kenya, a leader from AMREF Kenya, Mr. Stephen Ombuya, and also a business leader, news anchor from Uganda, Ms. Flavia Tumusiime. And we'll also get to hear from our very own Centonomy Career Hub lead trainer, Mr.Mwenesi Musalia, who also gets to wear a lot of hats in the business space. Then later, we'll also get to hear from an amazing lady called Miss Lena Mwebesa. All I'm just trying to say is today we have a whole preparation for you, and all our guests today are excited to be here. So a warm welcome to everybody. Right now, I'm still seeing a couple of people joining in. Karoli Kolokonyi, Karibu, Tracy, Monica. And what is Centonomy Career Hub? Centonomy Career Hub is a program that we run at Centonomy, whose goal and main objective is to enable anyone who is in the career space, who is looking to create wealth through their career, through employment. We get to spend 8 weeks together and learn how to make sure we get to upgrade and also accelerate your journey to have a good career, and also a career that makes sense and that is purposeful for you. And that's what we usually do. And we have our leader, Ms. Wendy, who makes sure that everything is done together, is done well, and we all work on it together. And we also organize webinars such as this as resources to help you wherever you are, to keep learning, learning the different tools that insightful people have been able to use, so that you can also be able to use it as well. So Career Hub is that program for you in case you're out there and you're thinking, you know what, 2020, the remaining 2020, I want to be able to plan myself and see how I can package myself in the best way to get a good job or to get a good promotion or to be able to have a specific position in my company or in your organization where you feel this is where you make most impact. That's what we get to do at Career Hub. And so today the organizers, the team, and even the speakers have prepared themselves well to be able to share with us insights on how to kickstart that career engine. We make sure that our career is that vehicle that is ready to go, that has everything that it needs. And that's ideally what we'll be discussing today. And I'm looking forward to our session. And I'd like to invite our guests, if I'm sure they've arrived, to just switch on their videos and say hello before we get started. Our guest, Glory Edozien, Karibu Sana. That's Karibu means welcome in Kenya and also East Africa. I see our speaker and our guest speaker, Stephen Ombuya, Karibu Sana. I don't know if the rest are here. I'd like you to just say hello before we get started and just share with us, Flavia, Tumusiime, welcome. Just share with us your expectations from this session and just a little bit about yourself. And I'll get started with Mr. Stephen Ombuya. Welcome.
Thank you, Shiba. Great to be here. I think first I want to just thank everybody for logging on to listen to us. I think it's the right steps in the current moment to be engaging in these forums, and I appreciate Centonomy for creating this platform. As a company I really admire a lot for just creating the right conversations about how to get ahead, which is critical in this time. So really, I'm really great to be here and hope that now we can share some insights. I see I'm talking with some heavy hitters, so I'll also be taking quite a lot of notes just to also learn for myself. So thanks for having me.
I like how you're saying you'll be taking some notes, and I just want to tell everybody, everyone comes in with something special. Even if we are going to be listening to business leaders, these are also people who are very open to also learning from everybody else. So as you hear Mr. Stephen saying he'll be taking notes, I hope you're ready to do the very same thing, because this is a space where we get to learn from each other. Miss Glory Edozien, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear? I hope everyone can see and hear me okay. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's great to be able to speak to audiences across Africa. I'm really excited. And thank you also to the organizers, but Centonomy. This is especially in this season, it's very important that we are focused on, really kickstarting our careers and moving our careers forward. So this is a very worthy initiative. Thank you for inviting me. And just like Stephen said, I'm super excited with the other people, listening to other Africans speak, hearing their own perspectives. So I'm sure this is going to be an interesting time. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Doctor. Welcome, Doctor. And we can look forward to your session in just a few minutes. I'd also like to give a warm welcome all the way from Uganda, Miss Flavia Tumusiime. Welcome, and let us know how you're doing. How is Uganda?
Hi, thank you so much. And hello to everyone who's on here. I'm sure I'm unmuted. Can everybody hear me? I'm a bit tech impaired.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I'm Ugandan. I'm a mom, which explains the extra voice and assistant you can hear. So mornings for me are a bit different, but I'm a TV presenter. I'm actually a news anchor with NTV Uganda here. And I'm also a radio host with Capital FM here in Uganda, which is part of Radio Africa, from where Sheba is from in Kenya. And I'm also a digital content creator, probably top salt here in Uganda. And I think I can speak so much on pivoting your career, because literally in the middle of lockdown, I had to take on a whole different career. So this is exciting to be on here, to meet different people, meet everybody, and also share what I've learned that has been a great success for me and hopefully can help somebody else. So hello, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you so much. And looking forward to listening to your story and some of the tips that you've learned and you're still learning as you adjust in your new direction. How fast did you make that decision? What are you learning? What are some of the strategies you would get to advise some of us who may want to upgrade and do some switching also in our journey as well? I notice our trainer will be coming in shortly, Mr. Mwenesi, and then he'll introduce himself, and also he has a lot to say later. So a warm welcome to everyone. Good to see Maggie Moro, Sharon, Hilda Teka, Francis, Henry Gathuru. You're in the right place this morning. So we're going to be going up to the next session straight away, straight on to the conversations, and we'll be listening and hearing from a LinkedIn visibility career coach all the way from Nigeria. Dr. Glory Edozien has learned a lot, and being able to, she'll just share with us her experience, what she has prepared for us when it comes to visibility in the career space, and also anything else she'd like to share with us when it comes to kickstarting the career growth. And I'd like to give a warm welcome to our speaker for today, Miss Dr. Glory Edozien, all the way from Nigeria. Welcome.
Welcome again. Thank you so much again for having me and for that very warm introduction. Like Wendy rightly said, my name is Dr. Glory Edozien, and I'm a LinkedIn visibility coach. What I do is I help mid to senior level career women across Africa build visibility on LinkedIn, visibility and thought leadership on LinkedIn. So that's what I do. So before I get started, so you guys know me, I'd like to know a bit about you, if that's okay. So if you don't mind, just in the chat section, just type in how many years of experience you have, and what your key career challenge is. So I have an idea. I have a talk prepared that I want to share with all of you today, but I want to make sure that I'm landing my points, and that whatever I'm saying is relevant to the people that are here. So please, if you wouldn't mind just typing, and I'm going to look at the chat, just typing in the chat section, please, how many years of experience you have, and okay, so I see 5 years, and what your key career challenge is now in terms of kickstarting your career or your LinkedIn challenge. Okay, so we have a lot of people, 2 people have said 5 years. Who else? Okay, somebody says experience in the communication industry. So 8 years, okay, 6 years, 7 years, insurance. Okay, so we have somebody 0 to 1 year. LinkedIn's challenge, staying within my industry. 10 years experience in HR management. Amazing. Okay, anybody else? 28 years in supply chain. Amazing. 3 years in computer science, 7 years in video production, 8 years in engineering, 7 years experience in HR. Great. 15 years in legal practice. Okay, 1 year in communication. Right. So we have a range. Challenge is how to grow to mid-level management. Amazing. 5 years. Okay, great. Great. Thank you so much, guys, for that. Yes, so it just gives me an idea of how to angle the talk. So now that I have an idea of who I'm speaking with and what your key challenges are, you can just keep typing that. From time to time, I'll go into the chat and just look. Okay, so I want to start by telling you a story, right? And this is a very common story for a lot of people who have years of experience and who are just starting out their careers. So it's called a tale of 3 women, right? Or yeah, a tale of 3 women. So the thing is, and the reason why I tell the story is people are always like, Glory, we know what career coaches are, but LinkedIn visibility career coach, that's a bit new, right? What does that really mean? So I always tell them the story. So I have a friend, and this is a true story. She's been working for over 10 years in the fintech space, doing great work, and was recently trying to transition into a high-level opportunity. Now, this goes to also, is a great example for the person that said, how do I transition into mid-level management? So she was trying to transition, and she had to fill in this application form. And they asked her a few questions. The first was, could she bring some recommendations from people outside of her office, but within her sector, that were top thought leaders in her sector, right? Could they recommend her? And she hasn't been networking. So she had nobody to ask for a recommendation, right? So that was the first thing. The next thing they asked her to do was send in evidence of her thought leadership and evidence of her competency. So has she been featured in the news? Has she written any articles in her sector, in any relevant magazines or online or anything like that? And she said no. So she hadn't written anything. Everything she knew was in her head. Why? Because they've been telling her, work hard, work very hard, work hard. Your work will speak for you. But now that she needed evidence for her work to speak for her, there was nothing. The third thing they asked her to do was, they asked her on the form, do you attend events as a speaker? And her answer again, and she was really pained by this, her answer again was no, right? Because obviously she goes for a few events, but she just pops in, pops out, nothing serious. Now, what the issue here is, now she's trying to leverage all her years of experience to count for something, right? To help her transition to a new place, to kickstart her career, a new career, right? Because at every point in your career, you're always kickstarting it. There is not, you don't kickstart your career, you have to keep putting the fire, lighting that engine, you know, stoking those wheels to grow your career. She didn't have any of these things that they were asking for to access this high level opportunity. So that's the first person. Now, I want to contrast that with two other clients I have. The first client is Ijoma. Ijoma lost her job as soon as COVID-19 started and the lockdown started. She lost her job. She was in the oil and gas sector. Now, you would imagine that Ijoma would be sad and thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Instead, she was thriving on LinkedIn. She was invited by a top national newspaper to contribute articles. She has gotten many job offers, some of which she's deciding which she should do, or if she should focus on an entrepreneurship opportunity. So that's Ijoma. Another person, another of my clients as well, she has been using LinkedIn, publishing articles on LinkedIn, and she says she's becoming a thought leader in her field. People are always coming to her to ask her for expert opinions on issues in her sector. So you can see how these three women differ. The first woman doing great work, nobody knows about it, nobody knows about her. The two women, great work, to kickstart their careers, especially Ijoma, but using LinkedIn to do so. Now, so what I want to show you is what the difference is. What have these three people done differently, right? And how you can use that to kickstart your career. But first thing, I want to explain why LinkedIn is so important to your career engine, to your career growth. LinkedIn has 675 million users. In fact, LinkedIn's goal is to have 1 billion users across the world. Right now, LinkedIn is in over 200 countries and territories, right? So it means it is the largest professional network in the world. There's no WhatsApp group, there's no conference that can give you the leverage LinkedIn can for your career, but you have to use it correctly. I find that a lot of people, so even the lady I mentioned at the beginning, the one who was trying to access this high level opportunity, she's on LinkedIn, right? But her LinkedIn profile is like a resume. And I find that a lot of people make this mistake. You just go on LinkedIn and you put in, your name, your experience and all of that, you just fill it in. And so it's like your resume, it's like your CV. If you want to kickstart your engine, if you want to get visible in your career, you need to turn your LinkedIn profile from a resume to a resource. What does that mean? Your LinkedIn profile should be able to unlock opportunities while you're at a meeting, while you're hanging out with friends, while you are at this conference, right? Your LinkedIn profile should be opening up doors. That is the engine. It should be part of the tools that you use to unlock opportunities for career growth. And I'm going to be sharing with you 3 key ways to do that today. But first of all, I also want to explain, and this is very fundamental to the career engine story, is what visibility is. Visibility is the art of letting people know, right, what you do and your impact as a professional, right? The art of letting people know what you do and your impact as a professional. So somebody told me once, like, how would they know what I can do if I don't tell them, right? So you might be somewhere in your career, you might be doing great work, but especially for all those people that have 8 years experience, 10 years of experience, people that want to enter mid-level management opportunities. If people are not aware of your value as a professional, they will not be able to give you the opportunities. You will always be in that cycle where you're applying and sending CV and going for interviews. You'll be part of that rat race. How do you position yourself so that you are sought after, right? Being the one seeking. Of course, you will keep seeking for opportunities, but how do you position yourself in a way that you are sought after? Okay, so this is what I'm going to share with you. How do you turn your LinkedIn profile, right, from a resume to a resource? Now, the first thing is clarity, right? So sit down and ask yourself, what do I want to achieve in my career? Or even before you do that, what have I achieved so far in my career? And now this is even for people who have 0 to 1 year experience or 20 years of experience, right? What have I achieved in my career, right? So if you're just starting out your career, maybe it is your qualification, maybe you just finished school or you've done some internships and you have an idea of what you would like to do, or your personality, how your personality will fit into different types of roles, what you studied and all of that. For somebody who has 8 years of experience, is now looking at the depth of your career, not just your job title, and saying, okay, what are the key outcomes I've been able to bring to businesses? What problems have I been solving, right? And then next thing is, how do I leverage all of this so that I can get new opportunities, right? So that's the clarity phase. Get clear on what you've done, on your career goals, what you would like to achieve in the first year of your career, within the next 3 years, and within the next 5 years, as much as you can see, right? So get clarity. The next step now is creating that LinkedIn profile. And I said at the beginning, when you're creating a LinkedIn profile, you don't create a LinkedIn profile for the job you have. You create it for the job you want. And and that's the way you turn your LinkedIn into a resource, because you already have the job, right, that you have. So there's no point creating a profile for that. You create it for the job you want. And that, Wendy, I'm also going to ask, please, if you don't mind, just give me hints around my time so I don't overshoot. Now, how do you create a LinkedIn profile for the job you want? The first thing that you have to be aware of is these opportunities that you're trying to seek. What are the key skills required, right? So maybe you're trying to go from a communications associate to a comms manager or something. What are the key skills that you need to demonstrate to attract those opportunities? So maybe it's now working on campaigns or communication campaigns or something like that, right? Or launching campaigns or being involved in influencer marketing strategy. You have to understand the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Understand what skills you need to fill those gaps, and then start projecting it on LinkedIn, right? So if you are a communications analyst, or you have 3 years of experience in communications or whatever the case is, and you're now trying to transition into a next opportunity, right? Find out what are the key skills I need. Maybe it's brand management, communication strategy. If you don't have that experience, start looking for projects in your current role that will give you that experience, and communicate it on LinkedIn, right? Don't just say, oh, I'm brand associate Unilever or something. No, go further than your job title to show me or to show us the length. Because a lot of people say, oh, 3 years as a financial associate, 3 years in private equity. What has that 3 years transitioned into? Have you been able to bring in fees to the company? What is the value of that? Have you launched innovative campaign strategies that have grown market share, right? Communicate the key results from your work, right? And then this is very important. A lot of these times, people on LinkedIn, they're using buzzwords, passionate, enthusiast. Those words don't help you get noticed. LinkedIn has a very powerful search engine tool that recruiters use, right? And what they use is, what they check for on LinkedIn, what they search for is skills, right? So nobody is looking for a marketing professional and types in the word passionate or enthusiast. No, they are focused on the skills that a marketing professional should have, which is why you should make sure that your LinkedIn profile is skill-based, right? And also make sure that you are focused on the accomplishments. So it's not just, oh, I did so and so. What you did, what results did it bring? Okay, what results did it bring? Now, this is also for people who are just starting their careers. Focus on your internship opportunities. Talk about the skills and the projects that you worked on. If that is not possible, you can also talk about the courses, the projects you did in school, right? And find out, okay, for this new role I'm looking for, maybe this is my first role. Maybe they are just looking for somebody who has an understanding of a specific area, or somebody who can do admin work and things like that. Focus on that, right? So just find out what is required in this next role and make sure you are demonstrating it. Please don't lie about your skills. Make sure you are demonstrating it on your profile. Okay, so that's your profile, right? And it's very important that another thing I must mention here is that your LinkedIn profile must be complete. It must be complete, right? So in order for it to be visible, people with complete LinkedIn profiles have a higher chance of appearing in searches than people who do not, right? So how do you know that your LinkedIn profile is complete? You make sure that you have written that when you go on your LinkedIn profile, look at the dashboard. If you see all-star, it means that you have a complete LinkedIn profile. If you see a barometer, which is telling you to click next to complete another section, then follow all the next prompts so that you complete the relevant sections to get the all-star LinkedIn rating. So that's your profile. Now I want to move to your network, and this is where things start getting interesting. Who is part of your LinkedIn network. Your LinkedIn network, the people in your LinkedIn network should reflect your career aspirations. So there are some key things I want to leave with you today. So the first thing is turn your LinkedIn profile from a resume into a resource. The second thing is let your LinkedIn network reflect your career aspirations. So you can't be wanting to progress as a marketing professional, and then all your contacts are corporate strategy professionals. It's a mismatch. You need to create a strategy, a networking strategy for LinkedIn. And that's by sitting down and thinking, what are the key categories of people? Now, I didn't say names of people, right? Because a lot of times we get stuck on the names.
Complete
of
LinkedIn
people,
profiles.
right? I want to network with so. I want to network with
some people who
this
do not,
executive.
right?
No, it's not about that.
How do you know that
it's
your
about
LinkedIn profile
connecting
is
with the key
complete?
people who can help you achieve career goals. And this can be, for example, if you're transitioning into a new industry, it can be somebody who has even less years of experience than you, but they reflect your career aspirations because they are in an industry that you want to work in, right? So think about the key categories of people that you should be networking with, or that have the information you need to succeed in your career. These are the people you should be networking with. Now, how do you network with them? You send them connection requests.
Look at the dashboard.
Something I want to let you know as well today is that
All-star,
LinkedIn
it means that
is
you have
garbage
LinkedIn.
in, garbage out. What does that mean? Whatever you feed LinkedIn is whatever it will give back to you. So if you're on LinkedIn, you're trying to grow as a marketing professional, but you've been connecting with people, your friends that are mostly in medicine or something. Maybe you had a medical degree and you transitioned. So a lot of your colleagues are medical doctors, but you're trying to grow your career in marketing. Guess what? LinkedIn will mostly be showing you people in the medical profession, recommending you for you to connect with them. And it will be showing mostly your profile to mostly people who are in the medical profession, right? So whatever you tell LinkedIn, whatever you tell the algorithm, by the people that you send connection requests to, by the people that you accept their connection requests, that is what is telling LinkedIn, right? That, these are the kind of people she wants to network with. These are the kind of people she wants to connect with. So you have to be very careful with what you're feeding the network. So I want you to go and you look at your LinkedIn profile today and just check on it, right? And look and say, okay, look at it. Look at the first 30 people. Do these people reflect my career aspirations? Do they reflect my career goals? Don't delete them, right? But now what you need to do is get intentional about attracting the people who can help you achieve your career goals. Now, finally, create content. Create content that demonstrates your professional expertise, right? Create content that demonstrates your professional expertise. What kind of content should you be creating? If you're not creating content on LinkedIn, it's very difficult to grow your network in a sustainable way. Thank you. So I've seen 5 more minutes. Thank you so much. I'm rounding up now. Amazing. Okay. It's very difficult to grow your network if you are not creating content, right? Content is very important for demonstrating your expertise, because everything you have put on LinkedIn so far, your profile, your experience, and all of that, right? It's you telling people, this is what I do, right? But if you are sharing content, you are showing people. So you're not telling people, because anybody can write anything in their profile. When you're creating content that demonstrates expertise, you are showing people, this is what I know, right? So it goes from this is what I do to this is what I know. It's very important. So what kind of content should you create? Create expert-driven content, right? So for example, what are the projects in your career that you've worked on? What were the lessons learned, right? What are the innovative things happening in your sector? Share about those things. What are your thoughts about those things? Share about it. What career advice and tips do you have? How have you grown? You have 8 years of experience. What are some of the things you've learned in the 8 years of your career about your field, right? So these are some examples. What tips can you give people who are up and coming in your field about your career? Share these things. It helps you to get noticed. It helps you to become top of mind. I did a video recently on LinkedIn, well, not recently, a few months ago on LinkedIn. And a contact who I hadn't spoken to in years sent me a message. And he was like, hi, Glory. I just watched your video on LinkedIn. We're looking for a gender specialist for our team in Oslo on a consulting basis. Would you like for me to put your name as part of the potential consultants we can contact? How? Just by creating content on LinkedIn. Another time, I was contacted by a top PR CEO in Africa. And she said to me, Glory, I love what you're doing. Please, I'd like to speak to you about including some of your some of your services as part of the offerings we give CEOs that we work with. Amazing. Why? Because I was sharing content on LinkedIn. I have so many content stories just by creating content doors. Another time, I was contacted opportunities that I didn't know. You know, the thing about it is when you're applying for job opportunities, right? The ones you see, everybody is seeing them. But when you are applying for opportunities, but when people are telling you about opportunities that have not been advertised, right? It's because you have become top of mind. And that's because you followed these 3 steps. You have created a LinkedIn profile that is a resource, not a resume, that demonstrates your capacity. You're networking with the right people who should know about you. And then you're now creating content that demonstrates your expertise. But the first thing you have to do in all of that is get clear. What have I done? What do I want to do? And how do I leverage it to access new opportunities? Okay, so if I was to sum up key things I've said today, use LinkedIn to kickstart your career engine. Tip 1, use LinkedIn. Visibility, get visible on LinkedIn. And I said visibility is the art of letting people know what you are capable of and your impact as a professional. To do that, you have to turn your LinkedIn from a resume to a resource. And that is by creating a LinkedIn profile for the job you want, not the job you have, but don't lie about your skills. The third thing is create a network and start networking, create a networking strategy that helps, that reflects your career aspiration. And 4, create content that demonstrates your professional expertise. And that is me done. I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope I kept the time.
Yeah, you've done a great job, Dr. Glory, and quite a bit of conversation has been happening on the chat. I see Maria Tando saying, wow, I've learned that the LinkedIn profile should be skill-based. And Stephen asked, how can you get to learn the difference or know the difference between a normal LinkedIn account and a premium LinkedIn account? Are there some items you'd like to share with us, or where can we get?
Okay. So the difference between a normal LinkedIn account and premium LinkedIn account is that one is paid and the other isn't. So you can, there's a free version for LinkedIn, which a lot of people use, but there's also a premium version, which is the paid version. Now for the paid version for career professionals, I think it's about $50 or so. And what you can do, and what that allows you to do, you can see you have a more analytical information around who is viewing your profile. You have access to courses. You can connect with recruiters and all of that. So that's the main difference. The free one, you have limited amounts of searches. You can't really see. You have an idea of who's looking at your profile, but you can't see in-depth analytics. You don't have access to the LinkedIn courses, and you can't. It's a bit more difficult to connect directly with recruiters. So that's the key difference.
Oh, great. Thank you. And Amina say, and Isabella and Jennifer saying, thank you so much. This is great content. And Priscilla
amazing
asks, what if I'm university? Can I create a LinkedIn account?
Yeah, so I think you can create a LinkedIn account if you are over 16 or over 18. I can't remember which, but I'm actually working with, I have a friend who has daughters who are in the second year of their university, and I'm helping them create their LinkedIn accounts. And what we are doing there is they're actually looking for internship opportunities, is making sure that we are communicating the skills and their accomplishments from previous internship opportunities that they've done. You know, any sort of presentation or coursework that they've done is reflected on their LinkedIn profile. So yes, you can.
Okay, fantastic. From Facebook, Kevina Wafula says, fabulous, looking forward to the learning. And on YouTube, I think Chil Karoye will keep learning as we go by, and maybe the next speakers will be sharing that as well. Chil Karoye asked, can you help me know how to choose a career? And I think as we keep going, and I'm hoping as we keep going, our speakers later will keep on speaking to that, and also during the question and answer. Thank you so much, Dr. Glory, for this amazing insights. I have learned what visibility really is, the art of letting people know what I do and being able to demonstrate my impact as a professional. You've also said it's so important for all of us to turn our LinkedIn accounts from a basic resume to a resource. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Stay in touch because we'll be having a question and answer later as we keep talking about this. Thank you so much, Dr. Glory. Up next, we're going to be listening to an amazing leader. He's a chief commercial officer at AMREF Flying Doctors. And he has gone through so many experiences to get where he is right now. I remember him from one of the sessions from the Centonomy campus edition where he was talking to the youth about being able to stay focused on your journey and use the various opportunities. I liked that Dr. Glory talked a bit about that also be very intentional with the internships that you take up and the roles that you take up as you work on your journey. And for Mr. Stephen Asanga, as of January this year, he was promoted to this position of the CCO after working and quite a bit, and I would just like to learn from him what are his thoughts also around kickstarting your career engine. A warm welcome to Mr. Stephen Ombuya. Karibu.
Thank you. Hope you all can hear me. Yeah, so wow, great insights from Glory there. Just took some, I think my LinkedIn is going to need some work there. So thanks for that. So I think I was thinking about the thoughts just of what to share today and then the period and time we have. I thought first maybe just to focus to say maybe it's important to get the basics right. As Shiba has said, about 10 years ago, I was 29 and, lost my job where I was working at some sales and marketing experience. I was doing corporate branding, very difficult time at that time. And then I had to just start taking some right steps to get things right. So if you're in the room and this year, it's a very tough year, I relate to sort of being in a very, what would seemingly be a heavy space where reality just seems very heavy. So just to share some thoughts of maybe what you can do or what I did. I think the first thing, and as a gender bias statement, especially for men, because we're not good at this, you need to get in a safe space. And that means getting around people that basically think or see you as a winner or just believe in you. That's very critical. So for me, I basically had to go back to my mother's house at 29, but my mother thinks I'm a hero. And then I got around some really good friends who've worked with me till today. And one of them actually is the CEO for Centonomy. He's a very good friend of mine, still works till today. But what they did is they reflected back to me, basically that, look, you've got what it takes to get up and go again. The second thing, which Gloria has spoken to, is be very clear about what it is you want to achieve. It took me 7 months to do that because I was already in a particular career path and I had to switch and start to think what I want to do. I was fortunate that I had a roof over my head and I could think a little bit. So I did a lot of research, met a lot of people, saw business ideas, just to try work out what I should do, and decided to go back into aviation. But I was very clear that this is what I want to do. And what that does is when you get clarity, you tend to get your energy focused very well, because I can remember from that time probably until this year, I mean, just the drive that I've had was because I knew exactly what I wanted to achieve. So it's very important to just work out, and I say work out because it's not always a quick decision, and don't give up on working out if it's not clear. Just keep working out for what it is that I want to achieve and be clear on that. Then the other thing is you got to be ready to work your brains out. Like you got to be ready to take massive, relentless action. And what I mean by that, and what I like how Gloria put it, it's not brute force. Why it's hard work is because you've got to do force, but you've got to also be able to be learning, tweaking, and applying yourself where it matters most. That's why it's hard work. So, and to be clear, whatever you think hard work is, it's going to be 1,000 times more. So just get in that mindset. That's the door to starting anything. If you're going to produce exceptional results, you're going to be ready to work your brains out. And then, stay focused. Find ways to stay focused. I want to mention that for me was mentorship. That's a whole topic. But to make it simple, I think it's important to get people who have gone ahead of you, that are sort of heading in the direction that you want to go. And, because success and progress and creating results has nuances, and mentors will save you lots of time and lots of resources by just sharing the things that you need to know as you make your path towards the results you want to create, and be be sure that it is your job to seek out a mentor. It's your job to get info from them, not the way around. Mentors are very busy people, which means they're producing results. That's what you want to learn from them. So you want to get around them. If they give you a second, you take the second and you apply it. And then you stick around them, and they will save you lots and lots of time, and they'll keep you focused because they tend not to entertain a lot of stories, which is usually what's going on in our head about creating results. So I think those 4 things: getting in a safe space, being clear about what you want, being ready to do what it takes, and staying focused. If you are experiencing a difficult time, those 4 things are your responsibility. Everything starts with you to move from where you are to where you want to go. And you have to own those 4 things and say, I've got to be around the right people. I've got to be clear about what I want. I have to be ready to do what it takes. And I have to get somebody who is ahead of me that can give me more sense. And I'm ready to listen and learn from them, not expect them to give it to me. So these things I did. And, I got back into aviation. I started as an intern in the organization that I work in right now. And just grew that, from an intern. I was hired as a flight operations officer to operations manager to operations network manager and senior management, and this year into executive management as CCO. And that's because all these things that even Glory is speaking about are critical about creating visibility and making sure you're speaking to the thing that the organization needs. So then I have some thoughts in the time we have looking at the current context. I think even Africa is an interesting continent, but even in Africa, which is really critical, because there's a lot of noise can then make you confuse what you should or should not do. The real market pays for value. So you've got to be clear on what value you are bringing, then package it in a way it can be consumed by the market. And you've got to think to yourself, like, if you're the market, why would you hire you? Why would you do business with you? Why should you be in the room? And you've got to have answers to that. In the current context, with all the competition that's happening and just the way there's diminished demand, you have to stand out. So you have to be clear what value you're bringing to the table. What I did when I started as an intern, the moment I landed in the organization, I was trying to look at where are the issues that this organization is struggling with the skill and experience I have, and I spoke to that, right? I just made sure I was available in the areas that mattered, and that's what made a difference. I'll give you just a short snippet of that. There was a project the organization was looking to do, and they needed a feasibility report. And they were like, "There's an intern here, let him do it." I mean, I researched my brains out that I did that report. That report landed on the CEO's table, and that's the first time she asked, "Who is this intern?" So if you are not like packaging your value and not looking for that area where you can bring value so that it can be consumed, then it's going to be difficult. In terms of identifying and knowing where the value, you've got to pick high impact areas. So if you are working already, you have a job, and you're thinking, how do I transition? How do I get in a better place? You really need to get away from being active or doing what you've always done or doing busy. You've got to apply your effort in high impact areas. So a very common one this year, if there's anything you can do to help an organization generate revenue, that's a critical problem that organizations are experiencing this year. So if in whatever context you're working, you're able to navigate that area into producing results in terms of revenue, that's a high impact area. Your visibility just jumps. All of a sudden, the attention comes to you because you are solving a critical problem that the organization has this year. And I think over your career, you must always be sensitive to what are the high impact areas, not activity based, more impact based. And you've got to be able to identify that over time. The third thing I would say is, if you're growing your career at all levels, you've got to be over prepared all the time. If you don't have a job, for example, right now, and you're thinking I want to be out, and to what Gloria was mentioning, your LinkedIn page must be what she's describing. Yeah, you have to be over prepared. You got to have your CV correctly written. You got to have it ready to go all the time. You got to be ready to answer. You have to be ready in a lift if you are talking to somebody you ran into, and then they say, yeah, I'm actually looking to hire. They ask you, why should I hire you? You should have a choreographed, context-based answer that this person can take and say, you know what, I need to get a hold of you. You have to be over-prepared if you're going to grow all the time, because opportunities rock up in ways that you don't know, and you've got to be ready to take them. More impact-based. I will also touch on, because I think it is critical, and I like the way Gloria just mentioned it in terms of CVs. We are currently even hiring, and I'm going through a lot of CVs. So a key thing she said there, your CV needs to be written to speak to results and like the way more than experience. It is better to say, if you're applying for a sales job, the numbers you brought in from the time you joined the previous work, year on year, or to the output, than to say I have 4 years in experience. This in sales, this is has less impact. You need to speak to the results you've produced, what you've mentioned in terms of and the skills you have. Than CVs, general, and I like the way she said these verbose words about passion, about these things. I'm sitting, so I'm reviewing CVs right now, and I'm confirming what she's saying. This is what organizations are looking at, and because of the amount of out, so you don't have the opportunity to take a chance of submitting something that is not concrete. So make sure your CV speaks to and skills, the area that you're applying for. So if you have a sales and marketing experience and you're applying for a sales job, then your CV needs to speak more to the sales experience than the marketing experience. If you're applying for the marketing job, your CV needs to speak to the marketing experience more than the sales job, and show results and show skill. That's what I think it's very critical to do that, to be visible. You've got to be true to yourself and your craft. If you show up in interview, again, over-prepared, you understand what you're here to answer. So make sure you understand the organization that you are coming to, present yourself. You know where the pain is, you know where the need is, what the job to be done is. You speak to that in your interview, but you've got to be true to yourself and your craft, because authenticity is reeking out nowadays. And organizations are struggling with resources even when they're hiring. So they will not entertain. There's no room to deal with a half-baked or fake and then try to train it. We're not interested in that. So you've got to bring whatever you have, and be not afraid of the little or a lot that you have. Sometimes you think, well, I've got to tweak, I've got to make a story to make me look good. No. If you've produced results, use those and sell them. I'll respond. I know for myself when I'm hiring, I respond better to that than when I see you're tweaking and trying to create stories around to prove yourself. So bring your authentic self and be true to your craft. Stay true to your craft. And then finally, I think I would just say a critical bit is to get up and go. Right. So we are saying a lot of things today. One of the battles we struggle with is after the session, back to normal. Get up and go. Take some action. Immediately after this, do something that gets you going in the right direction. And then keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. But always tweak, keep learning, keep course correcting. When you're working, always course correct. Hard work by itself, brute force, will not produce results. You've got to stay humble. You've got to stay learning. You've got to improve your craft always, and keep tweaking and applying where it matters most. So, we have a very interesting context, which this COVID context, which will probably stay with us for a while. But I've seen it, and as the other speakers are saying, I'm going to say it, and I'm saying it, 100% predictable. There are people who are going to produce results and grow in this period, and the market is looking for them. You need to be one of those people. Just be more crisper, more engaged, more sharper, more visible, and I think you will see the results that you want. So those are some of the thoughts that I wanted to share in the time that we have in relation to today's topic. So thanks for listening, and I'm taking notes. I'm very impressed with what Gloria said. I was like, man, I need to improve on my LinkedIn page. So I thank everybody for listening, and I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thanks so much. I like how you've been able to get to the point, and still your points have just been mind-blowing and very insightful. I'm just looking at the chats right now, and stay true. Henry Gathuru has taken out from your conversation, stay true to your craft. Maria Tando says, get up and go. That's what they're taking away from this. Amina Mishuki says, Chipukizi Scouts motto, be prepared. Scouts doing it right, teaching this to kids from 9 years old. So what about us? And also when I think about what Amina Mishoki is saying, it's also what you've said, what you've spoke to Stephen about get up and go, keep learning and keep course correcting. Because, when you're actioning things, that's when you're, probably making some mistakes, knowing other ways of doing things, and then you apply it where it's needed the most. I like how you also said your CV should be designed to speak to results for the area that you're applying for. And, ladies and gentlemen, this has been said 2 times by 2 speakers. So it's definitely a big deal. I liked also how you said the real market pays for value. Be clear what the value you're bringing on board. Visualize yourself as the market and ask yourself, what's the value I'd be looking for and how much would I pay for it? And then I package myself the best way I can. Hey, people are learning a lot and are sharing a lot. Let me see if we have any comments. And Tiffany Kisiero has a question for you, Stephen, and asks, what if you have diverse skills and interest? Can you still make your profile work for you, your CV? How do you, I mean, you had talked about making sure that it communicates to the results, and yet you have so many diverse skills. What would you say to that?
A good question. So maybe just an example of my experience. I was in sales and marketing and corporate branding, and then switched to aviation. And then once I was a trained, a certified aviation professional, when I got into aviation, my CV so this is very interesting for internship. I kept it very basic, for internship. When I was hired and I wanted to become operations manager, it was based on my experience in aviation. When I started to grow in the organization, I have sales and marketing experience, and now I've gone into aviation. Even my CV now talks to, I have a unique blend of sales, marketing, and corporate branding experience with aviation. This is how I started handling our international market within the organization and moved to the commercial side of the organization. So you can take, and it's very important if you're transitioning from one or changing completely, or you feel you have some experience that you had, but maybe in the area you're going, it's not there. You need to think how you can use that, because don't lose that exposure. Package it. The key is to package it in a way that speaks to what the company needs. So I knew in my aviation experience and knowledge that where I was going, I sort of picked. I was like, this is what I know in aviation, but the organization has a need in terms of client, and yet I have this experience. So now I structured myself as I understand both the operation side of the organization and I know how to handle clients. So give me this opportunity. And that's how I moved into this role. And this role was created. So it's making sure you take your experiences and see, if I was an employer, where's the need and how do I take the experiences I have, structure them that it speaks to what the employer needs. So you can always combine it, but make sure it's structured in a way that the employer says, oh, this experience, which in our field we don't see, is actually valuable. So somebody with sales and marketing in a technical experience has better opportunity because they can speak the technical to a client as opposed to just a technical person. So you can structure those experiences in a way that helps you rather than lose that completely.
Yeah, what I hear from you, Stephen, is that even if you are transitioning and going to a different role, what you had to map out was what is needed. what is needed in the next role, what's the problem, how can I solve it, and what is it that I have that can work towards solving that problem. I like that. And then being able to align yourself to that. I remember, Stephen, you talked about how, at 29, things hadn't worked out the way you wanted, and you even had to move back home. And Karoli Kolokoni is asking, how would you advise people to deal with the tendency of comparing themselves with their friends who might be doing well, that pressure, as well as black tax and other family responsibilities, which has prompted many people to take up any job. You see, for you had that support. So what about if it flips the other way?
So I think one thing that I said at the beginning is everything starts with you. So you've got to be you've got to find some safe space, because when you're vulnerable, you yourself are a bit weak. So in my situation was home and certain friends. I knew the certain friends I could be safe with. For other people, that might not be available. So it might be just you. It could be your book. It could be something that talks to you, that says to you, you're going to be okay. And you have to find the safe space, because you're vulnerable, especially men. We're horrible at this, is to go somewhere where you can be safe, and then get away from the noise. So before that, I had some drama when I was outside the country. I had some drama. And I remember all I did was we were sharing spaces. I actually found a very cheap place, just like a really small bed seater in a really small space, but I could go somewhere alone where the noise and the problems were not around me. And sometimes that's what you do. You've got to get away from the things that make you feel you can't get up, right? And I'm a bit hard, so this is my own personal thought. I'm a bit hard on how to manage the pressure from family. Yeah. So you've got to be honest with yourself about what you can or cannot do. And then you've got to give up the idea of pleasing people. It's a tough one, but you've got to give it up, and it will really work well for you. You've got to give it up and say, if you're not okay, it doesn't matter. You're not going to help anyone anyway. So you've got to give it up. You've got to say, tough luck. People have to take care of themselves, because if I don't take care of me anyway, you're not going to be useful. Once you've taken care of you in a bit of a selfish way, you've got to take care of you. And once you're stable, you're good, then you can think about other people, and you have to give it up. You simply just have to give up the idea of caring about what people think.
Great. Thank you so much. And we'll be coming back again for question and answer, so that I can see so many questions from everybody. But we'll be having a question and answer session, so keep them coming. Thank you so much, Stephen, for this. It's coming together very well, and I'm seeing people are excited about everything. Up next, I'd like us to listen to an amazing lady who's all the way in Uganda, Miss Flavia Tumusiime. She's a news anchor at NTV Uganda. And as she also mentioned just a few minutes ago, that she's had to switch her career and do something different. I'm curious to hear all about that. Welcome, Flavia.
Thank you so much. It's very Kenyan of you to say Flavia, but I'm used to it. How are you to everyone who's on? I can see from different walks of life, different countries. So hello, good morning, good evening. I'm not quite sure what time is on your end. So as she's mentioned, I'm with NTV. I'm a news anchor. I only got to be a news anchor for the last 4 years, but I've done about 20 years of my career. No, I'm not that old. But I started my career at about 14 years of age, and I started with television. Just a teens presenter, grew into radio, then from radio went back to TV, then worked with Mnet in South Africa, and then back home in Uganda. I literally changed my entire career. So 1 minute I was experienced in talking about Akon and Beyonce and what they were up to. On the next minute, I was interviewing presidents. So yeah, that much of a pivot. Today, one of my biggest earners is the fact that I'm a digital content creator. I've got a YouTube channel, so I vlog about meaningful conversations. So my goal is to have a legacy where I've changed lives. I'm more inclined to women. You'd understand why. I am one. So I've taken time to see how I can use my experiences in life or what I've heard to change a woman out there. So today I'm excited because when I read it's to kickstart your careers, I said, great, because I'm terrible at business, but I'm great at career. And if I can say to anything or speak to anything, it's just how good. If you pay attention, if you do the right things, you can have a great career. You can start one and have a great one. So I was just looking at what I have been able to achieve and how I have been able to achieve it in the last few years, what has been useful. And when I wanted to come here, I said, let me speak on the first time I decided to even have a career or make a career out of what I was doing. I think I was about 18. I just joined university, 18, 19. And there was a gentleman I met who here in Uganda, he's in charge of Arkwright, which is big on construction. I was young. I was really trying to get internship anywhere, anyhow. And I was having a conversation with him and he looked at me and said, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time either. I hate that you young people are too concerned with, I humbly apply. And he said, I hate it. I'm more interested in knowing you because at 18, 19, you're not smarter than me. You don't have better experience than me in anything. But I want to know about you because there must be something about you that I can use. There must be something about you that is valuable. And he said, I wish young people would write their resumes or profiles, speaking more about who they are or what they bring to the table, more than the templates that are out there, and humbly apply, as he had called it. And from that day on, I said, I am going to work on myself. And that's been my strength. So that's my first point. You need to work on yourself, your capabilities, your strengths, your weaknesses. And I read the other day that you don't actually have to use your weaknesses as the worst thing possible, because what is your weakness today could also be your strength. So someone said, if you're OCD, it could be weakness, pays too much attention to detail, which, you know, on paper looks good because someone is thinking, thank God, that's your problem. Do you see what I mean? So work on yourself and sparse your capabilities. What can I do? And in my mind, capabilities are learned. So it's not like a talent where you're born with it and for some reason, without even much effort, you can do it. What are you capable of doing? You say, if I put my mind to it, if I give it time, if I give it energy and effort, I can do it. Do you see that one? So work on that. Work on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. How can I turn what I'm weak at into a strong point for me? Yes, everybody keeps saying I'm always late. How can I work on that? Some people are giving motivational speeches out of there being very, very late to things and how they've managed to make it anyway. I'm not encouraging you to be late. The second thing, speaking of time, is just that, time. Use it wisely. If you had told me years ago that my career would have been successful to where it is, and it has taken me longer to get to some things because I did not use my time wisely. Do you see? So if I knew back then what I know now, they say no, don't regret, but I think I would have done more. I would have used my time wisely. I would have done more. But I think there's this whole thing, especially for the young people on here who are saying, I'm a student, I'm at university. Don't look at your 21, 22, up to 25 age as, I've got time, I can do this. No, you don't. You really don't have time, because what you invest then is what will be used in your 30s, your 40s. Because guess what? That whole thing of what is your experience? People need years and years and years. When Flavia says, I've done 20 years, when Steven says, I've done X amount of years, people respect that. And so use your time wisely. Learn as much as you can. Get as many skills as possible. Even the ones you think are not useful right now will be useful at some point. In fact, if anybody looks at your resume or profile and says, okay, this one has been busy, they've not just been sitting there and doing nothing. So use your time wisely. Another thing I'd like to mention is value. How valuable are you? I mean, if they ask us this in relationships, what do you bring to the table? Ask yourself the same thing when it comes to your career. What do you bring to the table? It'll help you when you're trying to meet your KPIs. It will help you when you are getting appraised. What do I bring to the table? You could be the most educated person. When it comes to executing, zero value. I'm saying it because we've seen it. We've seen our colleagues who've got all sorts of degrees, all sorts of, when they get to execution, no, not a strength. So you have to know your value and say, yes, I may not be the most educated person right now. I may not have the most experience, but this is my value. And I'm very clear on it. I'm very stern about it. So my first degree was in international business. I did it for bandwagon, to be honest. Everybody was doing it. I just went on it. Later on, I realized I'd lost 3 years where I could have done something in communications to meet what career I'd gone into. But I said, maybe I can use what I learned in that degree as value to where I am. So I don't have a journalism degree or a diploma or anything in journalism. However, right now, today, I create content around businesses. So I'm using communication, which is what I'm good at and have done for a long time, but for young businesses or SMEs or businesses. So I find a way to pull value out of what I have learned or what I've used my time for in the past years. Don't know if that's clear. The other thing that probably spells very clear for my brand is consistency. If you don't write anything today, write the word consistency in your notebook or in your notes and just keep looking at it. What you see that has become of anyone today is because they've been consistent at something. And by the way, good or bad. You see what I mean? Like if somebody is terrible and everyone knows they are terrible over the years, it's because they've been consistent at being bad. So you also have to be consistent at something, okay? People will not see your strength today. But if you keep at it in the next 5 years, that is when they will say, so-and-so is good at this. So-and-so is brilliant at this. But do you know how they get to deduce that? It's because you've been consistent. Because when you do something for the first time, let's say we have our house managers, they come in, you hire someone, and the first week they clean the house top to bottom, they organize, and you're like, I'm impressed. And over the next few days, they let the guard down, they don't organize as much, they don't do as well. That's the consistency I'm talking about. Whatever it is you're doing, keep at it. Over time, it's going to pay off. That I promise you, it's worked for me. And the next one is attitude. I probably should have started there because I don't know if I'm in the young people anymore, but young people have a problem with attitude because you start off your career asking people, how much do you earn? Okay. And you think that's where you're going to start. You need to change your attitude to first be a learner. Of course, you'll always be a learner, that's for sure. But now you've got phases. You're learning with no experience. Then you learn with experience. Then you learn with experience and the value. So see where you are in those three. Okay. Am I just a learner? Then act accordingly. Am I learning and I also have some experience? Am I learning with my experience and now I have value? So let your attitude keep saying, okay, at this point, I'll take about anything. Everybody will yell at me. People won't see the good in me, but I will take it because I'm just a learner. When you're learning with experience, your attitude shifts now because, hey, I have something to bring to the table. Your attitude also changes when you have both experience, you're learning, and you also have value. So your attitude changes. And also by that, you've got to be patient. So if your attitude is, this is not my father's company, or I don't have to invest that much time, I don't have to be taught this. Me, all the years I have worked, why would you teach me this? That attitude is what's keeping a lot of young people behind because they're not willing to shift or change it. I wrote this question. Who is influencing you? Okay, so we're in an era where we have the word influencers, and I actually earn as an influencer. But when you see why you're being paid to make someone change their mind about something or make a choice of something. Who is influencing you? Because whether you know it or you don't, the people around you, and I think Stephen hinted on this, the circle you keep, the friends, the people around you, they're influencing you, whether you like it or you don't. Okay? Your enemies are influencing you. Your friends are influencing you. Your workmates are influencing you. The person you just saw 2 days ago is influencing you. Hey, the person you meet on the street who does something great for you has influenced you. So you need to be very clear and intentional on who you're letting into your space. Because you're growing your career to tell a certain story of you. So-and-so did this for so long and excelled in this way. Trust me, the people around you will either help you tell that story in a good way or in a bad way. Okay, so who is influencing you? Now I'm going to help you also answer this. Mentorship. I get emails, I get DMs, and everybody saying, oh, you need to mentor me. When can we meet? Please stop. Half the people who've mentored me, I've never met face to face. We're in an era where right now you're on a webinar. Flavia is talking to you. Probably this is the first time you're getting to know she exists in this world. Do you see what I mean? But you're here at a webinar and you're learning from Flavia. Stephen, I've never met Stephen, but heck, I'm here. Sheba, I've never met her, but I'm here learning from them. The world has changed. The world has expanded, and it expanded years ago. Your mentors don't have to be right next to you feeding you A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can go online. You can read their books. You can get to know these people and then pick things out of their lives that will inspire you, will push you, and just influence you, like I shared. So get it out of your head that the mentors in your career need to be right in front of you. Please, you see? And stop wasting your time and saying, I'm closed off because so-and-so doesn't want to meet me. They don't want to mentor me. You failed already if you can't observe and learn, okay? And the other thing I wanted to say lastly, and Shiva, I'm not quite sure about time, is initiative. So I'm going to tell a small story, very short, it's like 2 sentences, don't worry, Shiva. I work with Capital Radio, and I've worked there since 2007. I was in high school, finishing high school. And so over the years, I thought I've earned being a good presenter. And the way I looked at the hierarchy is that the best show you can eventually get to is the breakfast show. And I'd been given offers from Nairobi, from wherever, to do the breakfast show. And I turned it down because in my mind, I'm going to do Capital Radio. And so there came an opportunity because they disbanded the entire breakfast show for different reasons I'm not at liberty to share. And I thought in my mind, I'm the next best thing. They've got to, they will come knocking. They'll tell me, Flavia, welcome. This is your opportunity. Please do the breakfast show. Nothing. If anything, they had people and I thought, that's it. And when I had a conversation with my boss and I said, I don't get it. I've built a career that is perfect for this slot. Why in the world would you not give it to me? And he said, you didn't take initiative. I mean, I didn't see you asking for it. I didn't hear you speak about it. I just didn't get it from you that you wanted it. I said, what do you mean? He said, when you meet me in the corridors or downstairs in the parking lot and you tell me, I would like to do the breakfast show, that does not equate initiative. Initiative is that email that says, fantastic, the way I see the programming changing. I'm also changing the way I work. And hopefully next year, I fit into this and this and this. That way they take you seriously. So wherever you are today, are you taking initiative for people to say, if I'm considering this, then Mwenesi is the person to call. Sheba is the person to call. Flavia is the person to call. Take that initiative because, like it or not, nobody's sitting there creating the best job for you or creating a career for you. They're doing their own things. They're suffering in their own way, and you are the least of their problems. So take initiative. At every turn, take initiative. That's all I had to share with you guys. Sheba, thank you so much for this opportunity. I've not been able to look at the comments. Maybe now I can or later in the Q&A, but thank you.
Don't worry, we still have some time with you to get some insights. I really like what you said, and you've shared very good tips for all of us. And I can see in the group people saying, Flavia is influencing me. Flavia is influencing me on YouTube. I have a cousin, and she's called Flavia, but now I understand how it's important to pronounce it the right way.
Oh, I'm not a stickler, so you can call me Flavia. Don't worry.
Because I also have people who like calling me Sheba, and I prefer Sheba, so I get it. So Lillian Kamau is asking, if you don't have a degree in journalism, Flavia, how then did you get your communication skills? You have good command of the English language.
Okay, so initially I was fighting journalism. I did not want to do it. I thought I would graduate and I'd go on to do something totally different. But as the years went on, I did not want to throw away the years I had done in journalism. So I said, you know what, I'll keep practicing it. Practice has been probably very strong for me in terms of a good command of the English language and also how to express myself. I listen to a lot of people speak and I pick out why I like them. Then I also I try and learn online, just what's a good way to speak to people in public, eye contact, use certain words, because when you're speaking to people, there's the I and there's the we. So I think radio helped me with that, to be honest, because in radio, they teach you to talk to one person and not to many, so that the listener feels like you're just communicating to them and they feel emotionally attached. And so things like that over time have helped me to improve how I communicate. And so that's how I got good, to be honest, just experience.
I always say when it comes to speaking and building your command of a language, practice is the best teacher. And like Flavia got a lot of experience speaking almost every day, so that gets better. And in case you're also interested, I'd say consider looking up Toastmasters. It's one of those clubs that helps people to actively practice speaking, so check it out. They also have online sessions. It's a good space. And also for our own Career Hub program, we have an effective communication module. So it's usually really helpful when we do a deep dive in that. There's a question here from Karoli from Kigali, Rwanda, and she asks, how would you talked about strengths and weaknesses and areas of improvement. How would you recommend people to conduct self-assessment to determine their strength and areas of improvement?
Okay, yeah, because I was looking at that. Thank you so much, Karoli from Rwanda. See, the thing is, I always say that anything where you want to assess yourself, one, there's you, there's the people who know you, and there's people who spend so much time around you. I say that because, to be honest, the people who know me, I don't necessarily spend so much time around, but here goes. You should ask yourself first, let me be honest, what am I good at and what am I not good at? Because before everyone else tells you, you know. So there are things that come easy for you and there are things that don't come easy for you. I'll tell you, for example, I am a stickler for time. 11:00 is 11:00 for me. If you come 11:01, it's not going to work. Okay, I don't like it. But every time I've said it to people, they say, chill, we're Africans. I mean, come on, it's okay to be 2 minutes late or 3 minutes late. And after a long time, I realize that now when I work with people, that's an added advantage. It's a strength because that's what I like. That's what I want. That's what I practice. I also know my weaknesses. My attention span is that of a child. So I look at my son's attention span and mine, they're equal. So I will pay attention. If you don't grab me in the first 5-10 minutes, I'm gone. Okay, I'm now thinking about food and this and that. I know that's a weakness of myself because I've seen it constantly. So I'm honest enough to assess myself and say, this is a weakness, this is a strength. However, I also talk to people who know me very well. And before I take on a job or before I do anything, I explain what the job is and they'll say, oh, you're going to really do it because it's going to require A, B, C, D. And knowing you, this and this is off. So people who know you, and of course you trust their opinion, but then there's the people who spend a lot of time around you. Why I say this, they observe things you might not necessarily see. My colleagues see me every day for about 6 hours. Every day. I might only say good morning and goodbye, but they're seeing things about me that I may not know. So take one or two and help them tell you, yeah, you're this kind of person or you're that kind of person. You'll be surprised what they tell you.
Great, thank you so much. And more questions, we'll be tackling some more questions during the Q&A. Thank you so much, Flavia. You told us work on ourselves, our capabilities, our strength, and most importantly, you reiterated something that Dr. Glory had talked about, and even Mr. Stephen. Be clear on what you can do and what you're bringing to the table and put your mind to it. You talked about the importance of time and using it wisely. You talked about consistency and remembering that it pays. And you also talked about how it's important for us to map out who is influencing us. And I loved how you talked about the relearning, the mentorship attitude of observing and learning, and not just saying, if you can't meet me at this coffee shop in this town, I will fail because I don't have a mentor. Thank you for that tip. That was amazing. Thank you so much. We'll be coming to further questions later. I'd like us to go to the next speaker, who is our lead trainer and a good friend of mine, a business leader, a fellow, can I say this one, Mwenesi, a fellow motorbiker. And, you know, he has really done an amazing job at Centonomy, curating this program called Centonomy Career Hub, offering modules that have been changing people's lives when it comes to career. And, you know, he's also done a lot of work in the marketing space, the advertising space, the healthcare space. Sometimes I wonder, this is just one person. But then I'm just like, we have a huge mission in the world, and we also appreciate our strengths and skills, and it's about getting the most out of them. So, karibu, Mwenesi.
Wow, Sheba, thank you so much. I've been drinking from the fountain of wisdom from our speakers today. I've just been like writing notes, and every time, you know, I'm even holding back because every time someone says something, when Gloria was speaking and Stephen was speaking, I wanted to comment, but I'm like, okay, let me just hold myself back, because I was just agreeing with absolutely everything that they were talking about, from clarity, focus, value, packaging. I mean, the whole mix. Even just now, the last point that I wrote when Flavia was talking about consistency and who is in your networks, it's something that I preach consistently, that your squad is everything. They can play offense or defense. So really, guys, it's such an honor to be a part of this panel, of this session, and to be amongst such amazing speakers and people who have such wonderful insights to share with everyone is a real honor. So I'm really happy to be here. So like Shaba said, I have been working with the Centonomy Career Hub program. We actually developed it together with Washeke and the rest of the Centonomy team over 6 years ago, and it's evolved over time. The more we engage with people, the more we learn ourselves, and the more we continue to curate the content. And in these 6 years, I've not just learned a lot about people, but a lot about myself as well, which has made me a better person and a better coach and trainer. And I have elevated myself that much more just by the continuous doing. And I love this point that was made towards the end about how putting in the hours, you just have to keep putting in the hours. Someone asked a question about, you know, you have this good command in English, Flavia, and you didn't do a journalism degree. And it's because of that putting in the hours. It's something that we stress so much, not just at Career Hub, but also in life progression. It's all about the man hours. And I want to speak to, I think, maybe 4 or 5 points on this topic of kickstarting your career engine. And then I will look at what exactly it is that we offer at the Centonomy Career Hub. But I want to speak from my perspective and my story. There might be some people here who know me, might be some people who are seeing me for the first time, but that's all good. And I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. I think when it comes to kickstarting your career engine, in my head, I think about a vehicle, and I think about my own life. And that brings me to point number 1, which is, in order for you to kickstart your career engine, you need to ask yourself, what is your thing? What is your thing? What is your unique value proposition? What is that one thing that you do, that you enjoy, that when time is moving, or you know, you see it, you experience it, you're just drawn to it, you tend to want to be around it all the time? What is your thing? And figuring out your thing is one of the most powerful resources that you can have for your career. Many of the speakers here, you can tell that a lot of them are very confident in what they're doing, because I promise you guys, these guys have figured out what their thing is. It takes time to figure out your thing, but there's some things that you cannot avoid. I know, I'm a lawyer. I have 2 law degrees. I have an LLB and a master's in commercial law, but none of those are on my wall, right? None of those are what I am doing today. I'm not a practicing lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. But my thing is people. My thing is studying people, understanding what makes them tick, understanding
So,
what motivates them.
a key thing
and
she
using
said
that
there,
understanding for both my benefit and theirs. All right. That has always been my thing. Whether I remember when I started my first job earning money ever. And again, I really want to encourage young people. If there are any young people here, if you're stuck, just start doing something just so that you can figure out your thing. Start engaging yourself economically so that you can figure out what your thing is. Your thing is not going to be found in a university or in a high school or in a classroom. For some it is, but you usually find your thing in life, okay? And I remember my first job when I was about 15, 16 in Johannesburg. I was working as a call it barista or a barrister. There's a difference between a barrister is a lawyer in the UK, but a barista is the guy at the coffee shop, the guy who makes the coffee. So that was my first job. Then I graduated to busboy, then waiter. And it was in a very high-end coffee shop in Johannesburg, in Hyde Park. And I worked there for 7 months. And I realized that I thoroughly enjoyed meeting different people. And I combined that with my other job where I was a promoter. I would stand in supermarkets promoting ice cream, giving out flyers, doing all sorts of things. And I realized that I really enjoyed interacting with other human beings. I was so fascinated. If I met a 90-year-old woman or a 50-year-old guy or a group of teenagers or whoever it was, I was always so immersed in their story and wanting to find out, hey, what's your deal, man? What's going on with you? How are you doing things? By the way, do you want this ice cream? By the way, can I get you something else with your coffee? And when I realized that that's my thing, I decided in my third year of university that I was never going to practice law, because law in my head, even though I come from a family of lawyers, is all about, I don't want to say fighting, but there's a lot of negative energy that comes in with the practice of law. And I didn't want that. I wanted to be in a job or in a career that allowed me to meet people. So I got into DJing just because I knew that being a DJ, you make people happy and people come to you and they request for songs and whatever. I was always into sales and marketing because it made me interact with people. Yet I'm studying law, right? That's the other thing. I realized that the way people respond to you is a consequence of you engaging them over and over and over and over. And so for me, the answer to the question of what is your thing, it won't come from school. It won't come from people telling you that this is your thing. Maybe it might, but you yourself, you have to do some kind of a SWOT analysis or check in with yourself every day and find out, hey, today I did this and this and this and this. What did I enjoy and what didn't I enjoy about the things that I did today? And if you can, and I love the way Flavia talks about, weaknesses are there, acknowledge them, yes. But once you know what your thing is and the stuff that you actually enjoy doing, look for opportunities to do more of that thing, because excellence is a consequence of time plus effort multiplied by your skill or your talent. If you don't put time and effort, improving, learning, continuously learning, like, if you realize that actually journalism is something that I enjoy, and the more you do it, you learn, oh, there's eye contact, oh, there's talking to people, oh, there's forming an emotional connection. You can't learn by just sitting, reading books and whatever. You actually have to apply and do. And that's one of the things that we really encourage at the Career Hub is learn by doing. The formula for excellence, and the excellence is what people will reward you for and give you value, is time plus effort multiplied by skill. All those years ago, 20 years ago, when I was a 16-year-old, I can comfortably sit here and say that I have 20 years experience doing business development and working with people, because I have been doing it since I was a promoter and a barista in Johannesburg all those years ago. All those years, every single day, I have been engaging people, talking to them, listening to them, learning what makes them tick, taking the effort to improve and understand what makes people tick. I have books and books and books and resources and videos and content on human beings. That's what gives me the credibility and the ability to teach people about people, right? It's not a mistake that because of my thing, I am now an image consultant or a performance coach or an advisor to several boards and I work with different tertiary institutions, and I've been in media and all of these things. It's not a mistake. It's because I have stayed true to my thing. So for me, the first point is, guys, Figure out what your thing is. Your thing is what will, that is where you will be able to exchange the most value. Your strengths, understanding what it is that you have going on, that is it. Not your degree, not your upbringing, not your religion, not any of those things, but what is your thing, your unique value proposition. And when we look at the content for Career Hub, we'll show you exactly how you can extract your thing so that it can work for you. The second point about kickstarting your career engine from my perspective, and emphasis on the word engine, is what do you want? What do you want? What do you want for yourself? What do you want as the end game? What is your objective? At the end of the day, when all is said and done, what are you looking for? Where are you going? What are you looking for? What is your, where, you know, your motivation is what will distinguish you from the next person, all right? And when I go back to my own story, I know that between the age of 20 and 25, I was very clear in my head. I want to party and hang out with hot chicks. That was my thing, and that was what I wanted. I dedicated my energy and my life towards partying as much as I possibly could and hanging out with as many beautiful women as was humanly possible. That was it. That was my sole focus when I woke up in the morning. Of course, behind the scenes, I also had to do this thing. I had to go to school. I had to try and, you know, survive and make a living. But my driving force, my motivation, the engine that was moving me from point to point was those two things. Between the age of 25 and 30, I had two new things. I knew I needed to settle down, and I knew I needed to be taken seriously. So every day when I was waking up, when I left the door of my house, I knew that today I'm leaving and I have to come back having moved the needle as far as these two things are concerned. I want to be taken seriously and I want to settle down. In the pursuit, let me talk, so forget about the hot chicks and the partying, because that's not really for career purposes, although that's actually how we built a business of a below the line marketing business for experiential marketing. And we also kind of had like this ad hoc modeling promotions agency together with a Brazilian guy. And that, you know, for 5 years of my life, I was making a ton of money partying and hanging out with hot chicks. So forget about that part. Let's talk about my 25 to 30 business, because below during that period of marketing, I need to be taken seriously, experiential marketing. And we also kind of had like as part of me ad hoc being taken seriously, people needed to look at me differently. I needed to dress a certain way. I needed to speak a certain way. So I started studying people around who are being taken seriously. How do they talk? How do they dress? How do they behave? Where do they hang out? Who are their friends? What do they do in order to be taken seriously? I had a new group of friends now. You know, I started hanging out with people who were also being taken seriously, who looked like they were accomplishing things, who looked like they were settled. I started molding myself around people like that. I started sitting in places like the Chamber of Commerce and Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and that way, for some reason, people started taking me seriously. My dress code changed. I started dressing in bespoke suits, and the money started coming. Opportunities, job offers started coming, because they were like, you know, young man, you're how old are you? You're 26, 27, but you speak very well. You behave very well. Can you do this consulting job? Can you take this job? Can you become the country director of this? Can you join our panel? Can you? You know, I remember sitting one day, there was a conference, and the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank had invited some members from KEPSA. And I happened to go to that function, and I was dressed to the nines, you know, pinstripe suit, looking the bomb. And this lady tells me, look, we're actually looking for some consultants who are in healthcare, and I understand that you're in healthcare. Can you join our team, our consulting team, and we will pay you? And when she quoted the figure, I was like, all this just because I look and sound serious? This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, all right? So because I knew that all I wanted to do was to settle down and be taken seriously. Oh yeah, and as far as settling down was concerned, I realized that I needed to ditch the group of friends that I had been partying and hanging out with up until 25. And I also realized that for me to be grounded, I needed to be in a family situation. So I quickly, I know it sounds, but that's a story for another day. So I quickly got married, started a family, and now started, being a grown-up, being an adult, doing adult things, all right? But you see, whatever it is that is your engine, whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever is on your, we call it these days, vision board, that's what you should be thinking about when you leave the door. Not, am I going to, if you leave the door saying that today I want to leave and pay bills. Yesterday, I was on a chat with Washeke, the founder of Centonomy, and we kept saying, part of the problem with our youth, and it's something that I have experienced with not just myself but the people around me, is if you say I'm just ready to do anything, I just want to pay bills, I just want to start, then that is what you will accomplish. That is what you will accomplish. If your job in life when you leave the door is to pay bills, I swear you will accomplish that. But that's pretty much all you will accomplish. But if your objective is slightly different, if your motivation is more targeted and focused, then you will be able to, you will hit those things, or you will at least be taking steps to those things, and a bunch of other stuff will start to accumulate. So if your agenda is to survive, then that's all you will do. But if your agenda is to thrive, then that's pretty much what we do. So please have a very clear objective as to what it is that you want. For me, by the age of 30 to 35, I knew I wanted to do two things. I knew I wanted to buy a black Land Rover, and I knew I wanted to not work for anybody else. I accomplished all of that by the age of 32, all right? And now, between 35 and 40, again, I have two things. I'm super focused on just two things. And in those two things, I find myself, I'm in the media, I'm in the media, I've started a YouTube channel, I'm meeting with different people, powerful people, presidents, ministers, CEOs, chairmen, I'm sitting on boards now, but it's all because everything is accumulating and building up into this. The difference, guys, between your job and your career is that a job is something that you do, it's a task that you do to pay bills and to earn money. But your career is a destination. So when we talk about kickstarting your career engine, there has to be a reason, a motivation, a driver as to what it is that what is the end game for your career. So second point is, what do you want? The third point and the final point in all of this, although I'm just summarizing literally everything into one, is what do you need to get to where you're going and to get what you want? I'm talking about your resources, all right? Your resources, which includes, by the way, things like confidence. It includes things like self-esteem. It includes time. It includes people. It includes social capital. It includes your brand. It includes, your skill or your talent. What resources do you have, that can help you move forward to get your thing? Because if you don't have resources, then you will always feel less confident and less capable than if you look around you and you say, okay, fine, I might not have a degree, but I have friends who are doing certain things. Again, I want to give you my own experience. By the age of 27, I got headhunted to work as a general manager for a multinational here in Nairobi. I had never been a general manager of anything. I had never been employed formally as anything up until this point, right? But I was now in charge of people who had CPAs, they were proper accountants. I had people who had HR degrees who were reporting to me. I had people who were project managers. There was something called, I'd never even known that something called Prince 2 existed, but these people now reported into me. I had people who had marketing degrees. There was even someone with an MBA who was reporting to me. I was 27 years old and I was the general manager of a multinational, a regional multinational. And I had none of that experience. In fact, I was a fake lawyer who was a former DJ running things and who was doing promotions and marketing. But I was in this position because I understood people. Remember, my thing was people. Because I understood people, I understood my boss, I understood my board, and I understood my staff. So I could manage them, all right? But I didn't have the requisite resources or talents or skills or education for that job. So what did I do? Instead of going to say, okay, you know what? I don't understand accounts and finances, and the finance team reports into me. Let me go and do a degree in finance. No. I simply sat with whoever it was who was there, who was our head accountant, who has a CPA, who has a BCom in finance. And I sat with her for about a month, and she basically gave me a crash course on finances, which is what, by the way, I'm using in my businesses today. I did the same thing with our HR person. I did the same thing with our project manager. I did the same thing with our marketing guy. I did the same thing with every single person who was there. I absorbed their information, and those are the resources that I used. I was not trying to waste time, going back to school and thinking about things, because I knew I am focused on results. I love the way Stephen spoke about, and I think even Gloria alluded to it. Your employers only care about results. Your education and your experience, that's nice, it's good, but what results are you bringing to the table? What skills do you have, and what results can you accomplish with those things? So for me, I knew I don't have, the resource of time was not on my side. I'm a GM and I need to start punching out results. So instead of going to look for, let me go do this course, that course, I'm like, hey, listen, you have done this, very good. Sit here, I'm your boss. Explain what a balance sheet is to me, explain taxes, EBITDA, all of that stuff. And before you know it, I can now go and sit and hold my own when people are talking about accounts, because I have the resource there with me. People are your resource. Your social capital is a resource. Leverage it, use it. People can teach you so much around you, but if you do not communicate well with them, if you do not engage with them, then you will never understand what it is that they have and how it can be useful to you, all right? People will also help you build a brand. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I made sure that whenever I was not in a room, whatever people were saying about me was positive and was useful to my career. So there's so much I can say, and maybe we'll be able to dissect a lot of these points when I talk about, how the Career Hub is structured and set up, because it speaks to all of this. But for me, just to finalize those 3 points, what is your thing? Figure out your thing, okay? Number 2, what is it that you want and where are you going? What's your motivation and what's your objective or your end game? And finally, what resources do you have at your disposal to accomplish those things? Whether it's a degree, a laptop, people, whatever it is, that for me is the main thing that would really help you kickstart your career engine. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. That's a good one. I see, people, even Karoli from Kigali, Rwanda, sharing the experience as well and saying, you're right. Sometimes experimenting on different things is helpful in determining what you're really passionate about. And that's what you are alluding to when you say you cannot learn just by listening and studying. You have to do. To action is to learn. And this part I want to encourage. Who was it? Someone who asked, Lame Kodhiambo, who asked a question around, I'm currently taking up a course on entrepreneurship in a certain university, but as I continue with this course, yes, my mind is on business. How should I equip myself so that I can also grow my skill on the CV? And I think I actually realized that Mwenesi's story is a really good example of, yes, learn what you need to learn, but most importantly, ask yourself, how can I practice what I am learning so that I'm also able to see what are my skills, what are my competencies, what are my superpowers, because I'm doing the work. And Lamek, also remember, as you study entrepreneurship, always remember entrepreneurship is always about problem solving and identifying gaps. So if that's what you're learning, it's time for you to start asking yourself, okay, around my area, my community, what I do, is there any opportunity or any gap that I'm able to see? Is there any problem I'm able to solve? And you start challenging yourself to getting started and actioning, because we have been reminded that we learn by actioning, not just by listening and hearing other people. I want to see if there's any other question. Abigaba Bridget just keeps on remembering, what is your thing? That's what you said. And Henry Gathuru says, your social capital is your resource. Thank you so much, Mwenesi. Isabella Kungaria, great talk, Mwenesi, especially on achievement and growth. I've picked out on a lot. And I think what is really important and has come across from all our speakers today is that we have to be so consistent, and we have to know, clarity has to be very clear. Mwenesi has talked about what's your unique value proposition, very similar to what Flavia talked about. What what are your strengths? Be clear on them and put your mind to that. And then Stephen also said, be clear about what you want to achieve. So that aspect of clarity is so critical. Mwenesi, you said something, please repeat it, because you said something to do with what's a job versus what's a career. It was so insightful, the difference between a job and a career.
Absolutely. A job for me is the thing that you do that can give you value. So the value that you're getting is either it's helping you grow your network, it is giving you money or a salary or a wage. At the end of the day, it's basically a task. It's a task that you perform in exchange for some value. Some people do jobs not to get paid, but they do it just so that they can get access. I do that. I've done many jobs, not for money, but because of access, right? Or to grow my brand or to get some, whatever it is, a job is something that you do to get value in return. Mm-hmm. Your career is the journey on the way to achieving your objectives. So that's why they call it a career path. It's like, for example, if I wanted to go to Mombasa, which is a town here, which is the second largest city here in Kenya, and I'm in Nairobi right now. If I wanted to go to Mombasa, what path will I use and what stops will I have along the way? Because I know when all is said and done, my end game is to get to Mombasa. I need to get there at a certain time, to do certain things. So the difference between a job and a career is a career requires you to have some level of end game and some kind of plan. Yeah. And in between where you are and getting to that point, you will do certain jobs along the way. So there will be certain tasks that you will do. Some of them will be for money. Some of them will be for access. Some of them will be for opportunity. Some of them will be for branding and so on and so forth. But all of them lead towards a certain destination. So that for me is the key difference. A job is a task that you exchange for value, whereas a career is a path to a particular destination.
Thank you so much. Mwenesi, Edwin Geshohe asks, did you ever feel like a fraud or an imposter leading that team with not much experience at 27? And how, and Lillian just connects to that and says, didn't you feel intimidated by the learned, and how did you navigate this?
Fantastic. And you see, this is why your confidence, remember I said excellence equals time plus effort multiplied by skill. By the time I was sitting on that table as the GM and managing all these people who had more experience than me, more education than me, they were older than me, they were basically more than me in many things. But what I knew I was more than for them, as far as they were concerned, is that I had 10 years experience working and dealing with people. I had spent my time from the age of 16 up until that point learning and listening and understanding what makes people tick. So they might have all of these things, but I had my thing, and my thing was people. So whether they were 50 years old with an MBA or 60 years old with 30 years experience as an engineer, or whatever it was that they were bringing to the table, they were still a human being. And my thing was human beings. So it didn't matter. And that's why the more confident you are, and Sheba, when you mentioned, and I think Flavia talked about it as well, practice. The more you practice something, you will never feel out of your depth. Now, if my thing was computers and software, of course, it might have been very intimidating, but you put me in an environment where I have to excel as a software person, then my confidence levels will be way high. So the more you understand your thing, the more confident you will be in the environment that you're in. I remember one instance when we were called by the Minister of Health at that time. He was calling like leaders and administrators of hospitals and providers, and we were a lab at that time, and we were all sitting. And I remember the CEO of Aga Khan her chair was next to mine with my name, and then the CEO of Nairobi Hospital and the CEO of this other hospital and the CEO of this insurance company, big people, right? And there I am with my little 28-year-old self. And when the meeting was starting, I think they all thought that the name that was there was for my dad, because we have the same name. So they were asking, oh, are you sitting here? Because they didn't know me. They asked me, oh, young man, are you sitting here on behalf of Mr. Mwenesi? And I'm like, actually, I am Mr. Mwenesi. And they were like, okay, this is awkward. Why is there a child in the room? But I'm like, yeah, we're here now. So everybody needs to recognize what's going on here. By the way, Asmita, love your jacket. You look stunning, you know, because I was confident. I was confident that my ability was to be able to communicate with people. So once you've figured out your thing, spend time perfecting it, improving it, growing it. That I can promise you, your confidence will come from there. And the whole issue of feeling like a fraud, like I think even Stephen mentioned it, you can't fake it, huh? You can't BS your way in life. Eventually, people will smell the BS. Be authentic. I knew that I'm a young guy who loved people. That is what I was bringing to the table. I wasn't trying to bring anything else. I wasn't trying to pretend that I was something that I was not. So I just knew, hey, here, I know these guys will disrespect me. They might take me as, oh, you're just young and you don't know anything. It's fine. There will be a time too when I will be a 50-year-old, God willing, and I will be sitting at those tables and I will have the credibility. But until then, hey, let me just thank God and enjoy myself that I'm here. One last thing, by the way, your support system, whether it's God, family, or whoever it is, yeah, please make sure you have a support system. That for me is actually part of point number 3 about your resources. Make sure that you identify and understand who your resource or your support system is, because it will help you, it'll help buffer you when things are a little bit crazy. So yeah, that's where my confidence came from.
Fantastic. I'd like to give a few minutes for the rest of the speakers, Flavia and Stephen, to join us. I see Dr. Glory may have stepped out. We'll just take a few more questions and thoughts before we get to the final session with Mr. Mwenesi, just taking us through the program. And there's something, Mwenesi, you've talked about making sure we have a strong support system. Stephen highlighted that as one of his key tips for all of us as well, having that support system as well. Flavia, do you agree? Flavia, are you there? In case you are, let us know how that has been. As we wait for Flavia, Stephen, there's a question there around, and this question is from Rukundo Anthony, where he says, you know, many speakers always tell us to find problem gaps in the economy. Is it really realistic? Yeah, what's your thoughts for fresh graduates and problem solving? Yeah, unmuted. Oh, I don't know what's wrong.
Okay,
One
there
moment.
we go.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, say that again. What was the question again?
I have learned, so what's his name? Rukundo Anthony asks, many speakers always tell us to find problem gaps in the economy so that we can solve them. But this is not easy for many of us as graduates if we are to get employed. If I may ask, can this really be a way to go as fresh graduates when it comes to fresh graduates and problem solving and a space in the economy for them?
Yeah, very good question, and probably a frustrating one for young people. So my thoughts, and I need to get Mwenesi or another level, just taking so much from that. So I think what I can say is for the graduates, you've got, and Mwenesi mentioned it, sometimes you do a task to get access. So when I was 29 and I had to get back into the field, I have experience, I have knowledge, but I'm more going in a different direction now. So I went back and trained to get certified in aviation, but to start in aviation. And part of me was, my mind at some point was, man, I should go in a managerial position, all this. And I had a mentor who just said, no, you need to get back into the field. So for you at this stage in this area, what are you bringing to the table? So internship became the route to access. But I was very clear when I can say it almost like I didn't like, I'm not saying it of what I thought, I said it. I was very clear that when I start my internship, I said, whatever these people call internship, this organization, they've never seen what I will produce. And when I did my internship after 3 months, I was recognized by the chief operating officer because of just the noise and the value I was bringing. And he started to mentor me even then. It was already work because he needed help. And every time there was opportunity to produce, I did. Interesting enough, so strong. And then when internship came to an end and they said, what do you want to do? I said, I want a job here. And then they said, well, we'll look into it. And I said, look, I'm going to go into the market, but I think I can really bring value. And I stated to them where the problems are and they knew them. So then they put something on the table, and we had a coffee with the CEO, and he said, this is what on the table. And I said, you know what I'm going to bring on the table is not this. This package is not good enough for what I'm going to bring, because I had demonstrated it. So I would say if you're a fresh graduate, and I know in our context, especially in Kenya, internship sometimes is like a job. But first, you've got to give up. And I had to do the same. I was 29, but in fact, for the time I did my training, I was 31. So I was tammacking, looking for internships. So one thing I did, and I like the way Mwenesi put it, he said between 25 and 30, his two things was to settle down and to be taken seriously. Not to get a job, he said to be taken seriously. So he started to understand, what must I do to be taken seriously? So I said, I'm 29, I'm out, I've just come back into the country, I don't know this market. I need to get an internship. I hear about tammacking, and I said, so whatever is called tammacking in Kenya, I'm going to learn that craft of tammacking. I'm going to get good at it, and I'm going to be better than anyone at tammacking. And then when I get into, and so I can tell you from that experience, I learned how to get past the HR desk, because I realized there's an HR desk that stops. I crafted it. So when I rock up to do an internship, when I remember when I came to this organization, I arrived so confident, dressed differently. So they didn't even think I was there to do an internship. And I asked to speak to the director of aviation. That's what I did. And because of how I present, and I used my strength, I knew I sounded different. So I used my strength and then got in. But when I was in the first 4 weeks, they were like, he's staying, because I knew I have a chance. And then I hit the ball. I'm like, this is where they need me. And I delivered on it. What I see is a lot of young people sending out. I have a nephew who complains to me all the time, and he hasn't learned it yet. So he comes to me and I say, well, just go back, do another 1,000, then come back. He hasn't worked out. I'm like, you've got to work out, not just send stuff out. You've got to want to win. Every single application is critical. Every single engagement is critical. And once you get the internship, every step in the internship is critical. So when he says, look for problems to solve, what you're saying, there are problems within organizations. They're there. People have problems all the time. I'm looking to hire. I know I have a problem. I know in my organization right now, there are people they don't know they're going to get promoted because they're answering the problem. They don't even, but they're just driven to deliver. So if you actually find the problem and you solve it, organization will respond to you because they have a problem they're trying to solve. So it is true what you're saying. You find the problems, but I would say if you're a fresh graduate, don't just stomach. Stomach has a crap. That's why I like the way Mwenesi said this. How do I get taken seriously? And he started to work that out. So you need to say, I'm not just going to tarmac and then let's see what happens. You're going to say, I'm going to tarmac differently because I have to get in. And when I get in, I'm going to intern differently. Yeah.
Wonderful. I like that. And also one thing you've reminded us is no one will show us or tell us this is how to tarmac better. You have to sit down with all the knowledge and skills and creativity that you have as an individual and come up with an action plan, an attack plan. Finally, Flavia, how have you dealt with imposter syndrome? You also came from a space you are not a pro, and then you're dealing with all these pros. 2 things from you, and then we finalize.
Thank you so much. So of course, there's been changes. I think the first change was that I came from TV to radio, which I didn't know, but then I also came from entertainment television to the newsroom. And then now, of course, I just shared that I started being a digital content creator. And I think when I got into the newsroom, I found that everybody was a certain way and I wasn't. And they didn't believe that I wasn't. And that was the first problem. And so I had to work on that perfectionism of trying to get 100%. But probably what has rang true then until now is that, one, I educate myself. If I don't know, I don't have to tell everybody that I'm educating myself. And here, sort of like a duck, you're paddling under, but on the surface, everything looks calm. But I try and educate myself so that today, I might not be the most brilliant at it and you don't know it, but by end of October, I will be. So first thing is that I've taught myself how to just read up more if I don't know and ask as many questions, of course, undercover, because it's just human of us to not show our flaws or our healing process or our learning process. The second thing which has served me well is to ask for help. Now, normally you would ask for help openly and say, okay, let Mwenesi help me on this project so we can ace it. But then you don't want to come off as if, Mwenesi is doing the job, you see? So for example, my content creation, I've booked clients and I don't want the clients to walk away feeling like I'm not doing enough, maybe because I'm juggling too many things. And for some reason, there's somebody else who's very good at creating content and that's their only job. So I say, let me hire a team. So that instead of saying, Flavia doesn't know all that, so when you come to me, there's this and this, I say, when you hire Flavia, you hire a team. So just by changing that, just by making that statement there, you won't really take it as she doesn't know. You'll take it as, wow, okay, I'm getting more value. So I've just learned, 1, to educate myself without everybody knowing, and then 2, just taking on as much help as I can.
Great, thank you so much. I think that's a wonderful thing. Educate yourself. You don't have to tell everybody. In fact, they don't know. They just think you're the best. They actually think you know what you're doing, but you know what you're doing. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to invite Mwenesi for the final part of this session. Edwin says Stephen's story has proved to us that it's never too late to start and rise and excel. And it's not about what other people think about you. It's about what you think about yourself and your journey. Great, Mwenesi.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, Career Hub it's been a labor of love and enjoyment for myself and the Centonomy team for the last 6 years. And we have, the impact that not just it has had on people, but on our own lives as trainers. And Sheba, you're part of us as well. You are firmly part of our faculty and the team that is involved in Career Hub. Just seeing the outcome on the hundreds, I think we've even hit maybe 1,000 or a couple of thousand people who we've impacted through these courses. It's amazing. And this is the type of stuff that I wish I had when I was in school, so that I didn't have to waste a lot of time doing a lot of, they teach you, I know, no offense to anybody who's a scientist, when we make a joke about, we were taught a lot of head, thorax, abdomen, and cumulus nimbus and other things that we're probably not using now. People should have taught us how to pay taxes and how to deal with silly bosses, So I say that a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the Career Hub is not just practical and useful in terms of its application. I truly wish we had the opportunity in our formal education growing up, but I guess that's why we're here. That's what Centonomy is all about, giving you practical tools to really level up in your career. If you're stuck, if you feel like you could do a bit more, if you feel like you just want to take a quick burst onto the next level, then I believe that this 7-week program is for you. So let's go through it step by step. Week 1, module 1 is all about making boss moves. I remember someone asking me the other day, why do you call it boss moves? Doesn't that sound, shouldn't you say leader? No, because you have to change your mind significantly. This module is about a paradigm shift in your mind. You have to start thinking of yourself as a boss. And the difference between a boss and a worker is so many things. Stephen, listening to him, when you talk about, I'm going to be the best person at this tarmacking thing, that's a mindset thing. All right. So in this module, we focus on your mind. How do you think differently? How do you understand that, you are not defined by your degree, by your upbringing, by your status, by your whatever. You're defined by yourself. So you need to take ownership of yourself and start thinking differently. You can be a lion or you can be a gazelle. Either way, each of those people have to run. You can be a general or a soldier. The difference is generals have perspective. And this module is about teaching you the perspective and the mindset that you need to have, both emotionally, mentally, and even from a skills level, to be able to take yourself to the next level. So that's module 1. Module 2 is knowing your strengths. Like I said, when someone asked me the question, how did you feel when you were sitting with people and you had to manage them? It's because I knew what I was good at. I knew, for me, you give me an Excel sheet and tell me to put together a pivot table. Hey, I'm not the guy for that. But you put me in a room with breathing humans, that's where I will thrive. So once you know your strengths, you can be more confident and look for opportunities where your strengths can truly truly thrive, and then you won't be afraid. You won't have those self-esteem, confidence issues that stop many of us from acting and from moving. So knowing your strengths is linked closely to overcoming your fears, which is one of the biggest things. We tell ourselves so many things in our heads. Washeke, the founder of Centonomy, calls it the poverty support group, the poverty death trap, the Mushene group of people just talking about things that are not helping them. Knowing your strengths, facing and overcoming your fears is all about, is what module 2 is all about. The third module is building a personal brand and ensuring that your reputation, the heat signature, and you know, the fact that, again, like Stephen mentioned, there are people who are leaving such a heat signature in his organization, they don't even know that they're going to be promoted, but him and some of the senior managers have already decided these guys are going to be promoted simply because the heat signature, the mark, the brand that they have created for themselves is one of dependability and value. So developing a personal brand is not being a celebrity or an influencer. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making sure that you leave such a mark, you're deliberate, and we will teach you steps on how you can be so deliberate in leaving such a mark on the people that are around you that you never have to introduce yourself or send a proposal or say whatever. The jobs will come to you. The opportunities will come to you simply by how you're leaving a mark on people. That's module 3 as far as building a personal brand is concerned. Module 4, like Flavia has intimated, is, again, you are the tip of the spear. When someone says, can you do this? You're not saying, well, I can or I can't. You know that I am the tip of the spear as far as this question is concerned. But behind me, I have a whole squad. I have a whole team that I have activated, that I have communicated effectively to, who are able to step in and do the things that I need them to do for me. I have brand ambassadors. I have helpers. I have people who I can rally, and they're not necessarily even from my work. I have people in church, people I went to school with. All of these people, I can tap into them as a resource. That's why it's called social capital. It is the capital that you can use to turn yourself. And this is why you'll see that the common thread in all of our modules is that you need to think of yourself as a business. And here in module 4, when we talk about social capital, we're talking about your networks. Can you communicate effectively to activate your networks? When Gloria was speaking about LinkedIn and making sure you build a good, visible online presence, linked very closely to building your personal brand, are you able to harness all of that and communicate effectively so that this capital, this social capital, these people can work for you? That's what module 4 is all about. Module 5, advanced career planning for financial growth. Again, going back to what Gloria talked about making sure that you structure your CV, your online presence, your LinkedIn profile, your documents. You're able to package and present your plan for your career in a very clear way such that you're speaking to results and not just experience and education. There are ways to do this. There are tips to do this. And I think Gloria might have touched a little bit on it and some of the other speakers as well. But in this module, we really go in depth to make you understand that this is what certain people are looking for. The HR person thinks differently from the finance person, thinks differently from the CEO, thinks differently from the line manager. So you need to be able to speak the different languages as you move along in your career, knowing that you have a destination that you need to get to. By this time, and this is where now the point of leadership comes in, by this time, you will be a leader. There will be people coming to you asking you, hey, can you help me figure this thing out? Can you give me some direction? You seem to have it all together, but you need to have some qualities. You need to have some compassion, some empathy in order for you to lead authentically. Module 6, week 6 is all about authentic leadership. Now we teach you, remember we started off by thinking, you need to think like a boss. So the first module is aggressive mind shift. And by now we're refining you as a leader. You're now starting to have emotional intelligence. You're starting to have a bit of charisma. You're starting to, learn how the different dynamics of teamwork function. You're learning how to express yourself at a higher level in the C-suite, in the senior management level. That way now you're now a polished, more refined version of yourself. And then finally, we talk, the icing on the cake is none of this is possible. None of this makes sense unless the glue that holds it together, which is your ability to communicate effectively. If you cannot communicate all of this good stuff in an effective way, it doesn't matter. If you can't make a presentation on a whim, if someone tells you, okay, Mwenesi would like you to talk about A, B, C, D, and you can't come and do what I'm doing right now, then you might have all this value, but it's just there. You can't express it. So what we do is now we just help refine some of your abilities to express yourself in a concise, articulate, clear manner. And you don't have to go do a degree in English literature or journalism or whatever, just this module and you should be good to go. So this is 7 weeks. And like I said, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people in the last 6 years who have passed through this. It's amazing. I thoroughly enjoy being a part of the Career Hub, being a facilitator, a lecturer, and learning from other people as well, because every single time we're in class, we learn from each other. And guys, a lot of the stuff that you will learn in these modules is not theory and whatever. Sure, we will reference certain books, but we've done all the reading on your behalf. We've read all the personal development books you can think of, all of them, Tumezi Soma. So you just need to come here and absorb. And like I said, this is practical application. It's not, oh, okay, now I know what I know, but it's, can I take what I know and go and start using it immediately? The minute the class is over, can I go start practicing eye contact? Can I go start practicing how to maneuver my brand online? Can I go start practicing on how to get to my vision board? Can I go start practicing how to harness my skills based on my personality? It's practical and it's straight to the point. And again, because of COVID, all of this stuff is going to be online. So wherever it is that you are, you can kick it in the comfort of your home. Our classes are online. Before, we used to do it in a classroom session and it was packed. Thursdays, Saturdays, we used to have a lot of fun in Westlands. But now, because of our current situation, all of our classes are going to be online. So wherever it is that you are, just make sure that you've paid the fee and you have good internet, and you should be good to go. So looking forward to seeing you guys on the 8th of October, God willing.
Great. I know that you've talked about you could do it from anywhere. We actually have in our session, we currently have Mwebesa Lena, who got to do it all the way from Uganda. Hi, Mwebesa. Are you here with us? Could you share with us how the experience was for you? Mwebesa? I don't know if she's here, but I would have liked to hear from her. Great. All right. I think she's not here, but yeah, you're welcome. You can do it from anywhere. Thank you so much, Flavia. I know you have to leave, and also Stephen for being with us. It's been such an honor hearing from you and feeding from your cup today. We are grateful, and also for Mwenesi for always being such a great resource to all of us and making sure that we are going on ahead very well. As you said, it's a 6-week, 7-week program. You get to repackage yourself. I've seen someone who's asking, do I need to do Toastmasters? Maybe you know what, because as you've gone through this session, you're going to be learning so many things. You could start from here, and then you will decide whether you want to focus on the rest of the communication as a focus. But for now, you're most welcome to come and just learn how to be all-rounded. I see Mwebesa is here all the way from Uganda. Hi, Mwebesa.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sheba.
Hey,
I hope everyone can hear me.
Great, we can hear you clearly. How was your experience?
Well, my experience with Centonomy was honestly awesome. One thing I would like to say is Centonomy is just not giving us a service. It's giving us a feeling that you as an individual can actually step up out of your comfort zone and get into the potential that you were meant to fulfill. And for me, I think the greatest lesson I learned from the classes is that you need to step out. You need to show up for yourself. No one is going to do anything for you. Therefore, show up, and then the rest will come in place into people. But it's your responsibility as an individual to step out and do your best. Then there'll always be someone watching out there, and you'll get to where you want in your career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lena, and for, she's just also talking about the jump activity that you get to do during this session. And I know she had to choose her own. I see someone asking how much is the cost. It's actually 19,600 or $196. We are able to pay it over 4 installments for local students. And if you register today, the registration fee is 1,000 shillings. So if you register today during the session to get that discount, and you set yourself up for the session that will be starting. And these are the details. We'll have the screen shared for you. Yes, we do have discounts for Centonomy alumni. So Vincent, if you are a Centonomy alumni, make sure you reach out to Wendy and let her know what program you did. We'll just do our due diligence on our side, and you have all the details. It's an honor for us to always have these sessions with you. Trust us to always make sure you get great resource, great learning opportunities, great ways to become better. And these sessions are every week, once a week, but you can select which are your preferred days. Once a week for about 3 hours. Yes, 3 hours with Mwenesi and all the other trainers. And you just commit your 3 hours every week for 7 weeks, and you'll be good to go. As we've heard from Lena, you get to really challenge yourself, and that's what we all need to do, following from what we've had today from our speakers of the day. It's going to be available online, so you can log in from wherever you will be, as long as you make sure your internet is sorted. And the classes start, Christine, the classes start on 8th October. On 8th of October, reach out to Wendy at centonomy.com. I saw someone saying, but I wrote an email to Wendy and she didn't get back to me. This time she will get back to you. So just drop her an email again and you can plan on it. And the cool thing about these sessions is if you come on Thursday, maybe you're doing personal branding with Mwenesi, and then you feel, I really, really want to redo that session again, you can come again on Saturday. You can plan your slot just for clarity. So at least the online learning space is allowing us to do this without making it expensive transport-wise for you. So you're welcome from wherever you are. Thank you for always joining us. Catherine, Waweru, karibu sana. And we are always at your service, even for all our alumni who joined us. We are grateful to have you on board. Thank you, Mwenesi. Thank you, Dr. Glory from Nigeria. Thank you, Flavia from Tumusiime from Kampala, Uganda. And also thank you, Stephen Ombuya from AMREF Kenya, for being great speakers and sharing your resources with us. We cannot wait to see you in our session. It's always an honor to have you with us. Thank you all, and God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Oh, and for everybody who maybe your internet was shaky during this session, don't worry. You will find the links. I'm just going to share with you the links on YouTube with you. You can go on YouTube, and thank you for everybody who joined us on YouTube. Thaddeus Duke Marando. Let me just share with our guests on Zoom the links, so that in case you want to do a recap, you're able to do that. That's for YouTube. Please, if you are on Zoom, please check it out there. And also, you'll also be able to check it out on Facebook as well. So thank you for all our guests who joined us on the platform for Facebook and also our platform on YouTube. It was an honor for us to host you. Have a good weekend, and let's keep on keeping in touch. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, Gladwell. Welcome, Hilda. Welcome, Henry and Sandra and Beatrice. Let's do it again soon.